Afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our 1-hour webinar on Introduction to Word. My name is Julie. I'll be your host this afternoon. I do have the chat room and the Q&A room open on my screen. So if you have any questions along the way, feel free to go ahead and put those in the chat, and I'll answer them as we go along. So what I want to look at today is all of the different ribbons. And when I say ribbon, I'm referring to the very top of your Word document. Right now, I'm on the home ribbon. You also have what's called an insert ribbon, a design ribbon, layout, references, mailings, review, view, and help. Along the way, when we get to the insert ribbon and we're putting in some pictures and some different illustrations, you'll note that some additional ribbons we'll be working with. And we'll talk about why those seem to appear and disappear on their own, but they really don't. So looking at the home ribbon and each one of these different ribbons, you have different groupings. So for instance, on the home ribbon, we have a clipboard group, we have a font group, paragraph, styles, editing, voice, and sensitivity. Now that should be somewhat familiar to you, what you're seeing at home. If not, it could be that your layout or you have a little bit different version of Microsoft Word. I will be sharing my email address with you, so if you have any questions that you'd like me to address after the webinar is over, I'd be happy to do so for you. So I'm just going to go ahead and start off by typing in a simple sentence here for us to work with. All right, so I typed in my sentence, and the first thing that you need to remember is that we're going to look at the font group first, and then we'll go over here to the clipboard group and then to the paragraph group. So the first thing that you want to remember is that in order to edit anything on Microsoft Word or on the computer, you need to select that. So in other words, you need to tell Microsoft Word what you want to manipulate. So traditionally, when we've gone to highlight information on Microsoft Word, you had to take your cursor and start at the very beginning and click and hold down on your mouse and pull across, or you had to start at the very end. That has changed somewhat, and I just wanted to go over some of the options for highlighting text with you. So in other words, if I hover my mouse over the word jumped and I just double click, it will select just that one word. So the double click will select just one word. If I hover my mouse over the sentence and I triple click, it will select the paragraph. So I only have one sentence in there, but if I had 3 or 4 sentences in an entire paragraph, it would select the entire paragraph. So that's double clicking for one word, triple clicking for the entire paragraph. There's one more way that you can select a line on Microsoft Word. And if I move my mouse over to the left-hand margin, note that right now I have my I-beam. I'm just kind of waving my mouse around, and you can see my I-beam. If I hover my mouse, bring it over into the left-hand margin, then I get an arrow pointing into the right. From there, if I click, it will select just that one line. If I had multiple lines, you could click and pull down, and it would select as many lines as you wanted to. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to triple click to select my sentence, "The cow jumped over the moon." And we're going to go underneath the font group and just take a look at some of the options that you have there. So the first thing that I want to talk about is looking at the different fonts. And there are literally hundreds of different fonts for you to go through. These are all in alphabetical order. And you'll note that it should be giving me a live preview. I'm not sure why it's not. Could be just a little slow today. So they're all in alphabetical order. For instance, if you know that you want to use a specific font, I like Times New Roman. I don't necessarily have to scroll all the way down to the T's. I can just go ahead and start typing, and it will bring up Times New Roman for me. If I hit the Enter key, it will change my font. Once I've done that, it will be placed here underneath recently used fonts. So these are the fonts that I have recently used. Right next to that, you have the ability to change your font size. So in Microsoft Word, it defaults to the font of Calibri and the font size of 11, but you can very easily change that by selecting your different options. In Microsoft Word, it has the font sizes 8, 9, 10. It has some of them built in for you to select. So if I want my font size to be 36, I can select that. However, if I don't see a size on here that I want, for instance, it jumps from 36 to 48. I can come up to the 36 and maybe just type in the number 40, hit the Enter key, and it will automatically adjust the font size. So if you don't see the font size that you would prefer to use in the menu, you can simply type in a font size and it will adjust. You might be wondering what the 3 little dots at the very bottom of this pull-down menu will do. And if I hover my mouse over that, note that I get arrow keys to the north and the south. This will allow me to increase or decrease the size of that pull-down menu. So if you want it to be shorter or longer, you can adjust the size from there. Right next to that, you have 2 uppercase A's, and this will allow you to increase or decrease the font size by clicking on it. So if you want to just do little increments of increasing or decreasing the font size, you can use these 2 options. Note that it's increasing and decreasing by a 2-digit font size when I utilize this method. Now, if I hover my mouse over, it gives me a little pop-up window, and it says that this will increase the font size, and it also gives me my keyboard shortcut. So if you're not familiar with keyboard shortcuts, that's something else that I wanted to talk a little bit about this afternoon. So if I hold down, it tells me to hold down the Control, Shift, and the greater than. That will increase my font size, or the less than will decrease my font size. So that's your keyboard shortcut for increasing and decreasing the font size. Right next to that, I have the ability to change the case. So I can change to all uppercase if I want to. I can change to all lowercase. I can ask Microsoft Word to just capitalize each word. This comes in very handy, especially if you're copying information. Maybe you're copying information from the internet and it's all in uppercase, and you want it to be in sentence case. You don't have to retype all of that. You can simply have Microsoft Word do it for you. Click on sentence case, and it will make those changes. Right next to that, you have something called Clear All Formatting. And if I click on that, what's going to happen is it's going to go back to my original state. So you remember at the very beginning of the webinar when I typed in "the cow jumped over the moon," I hadn't changed my font, I hadn't changed my size. That will, when I click on that, it will return, it will clear all the formatting that we have made these adjustments so far today. Now I'm going to go ahead and undo that. There's a couple of ways that I can go about this. Right above the design ribbon, I have something called Repeat Clear All Formatting. So Microsoft Word remembers everything that we have done, and you can undo or you can redo formatting. So if you accidentally delete something or you make a change that you don't want, you can use Control Y as a keyboard shortcut to redo, whoops, to undo. Come here. Or you can see, remember I told you that it remembers everything that we've done. I can go back to change case. I can go back to any level that I want to. So there is my sentence, the cow jumped over the moon before I took the, cleared the formatting off. Right below that, we have some additional options. You have the ability to boldface, to italicize, and to underline. Now, when those are turned on, note that these three little icons are grayed out. So it's telling me that that is turned on. If you want to turn it off, it's just like a light switch. I can go ahead and click on the U, click on the I, click on the B, and it will take the boldface, the italicizing, and the underlining off. Now, your keyboard shortcuts for those, again, if you forget what they are, you can just hover your mouse over the icon and it will tell you. So you've got Control B, Control I, and Control U for boldface, italicize, and underlining. Now you might notice that right next to the U, I also have a pull-down menu. And I have some different options as to how I want this underlined. So if I want it to be a dash line, I can select a dash line. If I want it to be a double line, I can select that. If I want to go in and change the color of the underline, I can also do that. Maybe I want this underlined in purple. So I can go in and change that. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the underlining, turn off the italic, turn off the bold. Now you might be asking yourself, well, that's great, but what if I want to edit just one word? So I had the entire sentence selected, so it was making those edits to the entire sentence. If I want to edit just one word, I can double click on cow. And I can come up and say, maybe I want that to emphasize cow. So I want that to be a little bit bigger in my sentence. So I can increase the size of just one word. And I can do that in a couple of different ways. Note that I double click to select the word. However, if I just click inside of another word, in this case, I clicked inside of over, I can make adjustments to it without actually having it highlighted because I have my cursor inside of the word over. So if I want to just maybe increase the size of the T in the, I can do so by highlighting just the T and selecting a larger font size. So next to that, so you've got your bold, italic, and underline. Next to that, you have a cross out. So if you want, if you're editing a paper, maybe you're saying that this word should be deleted from the paper, that's a great way of telling somebody that you want that deleted. Next to that, you have your subscript and your superscript. And what that is in most of the time, it will do it automatically for you. So if I type in first and I hit my space bar, it's automatically going to superscript that. Or if I type in something for maybe second, it's automatically, whoops, let's see which, well, they're all superscript. But then you can force it to subscript or to superscript if you would like to. Next door to that, you have three more options. The first option is called a text effect in typography. And if you've used Word in the past, underneath the insert ribbon, you have something called word art. And we are going to be taking a look at that. But the typography, text effects in typography, I think is very similar to word art. So in other words, if I go ahead and select the cow jumped over the moon, well, now I've got two lines here. So let me go ahead and demonstrate how I can use the arrow in the left-hand margin. So if I click and hold down on my mouse and just pull down, I can select all 5 lines or just 2 lines if I want to. So I'll go ahead and select the first 2 lines in my document, and we'll come up here to the text effects, and maybe I want my text to be just a nice blue, or you can, select an orange. You can select anything you want to, and then you can outline, you can shadow, you can create a reflection, you can create a glow if you want to. It's pretty cool. Those are some options that you can play around with this afternoon after our webinar is over, if you want to look. Okay, so as I was saying, if you want to highlight your text and you want to take the highlighting off, you can come up and tell it no color. All right, so next to that, Becky, I do believe that these are recorded, and you can go to either Facebook or YouTube to review the session again. So next to that, let me go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and clear the formatting, and you're welcome. Next to that, you have the ability to change the color of your font. So when I click on the down arrow, it gives me this color palette, and I can select a different color if I want it all to be red, or if I want just, maybe we'll do a pattern here. Maybe one's yellow, one's blue, and so on. So you can change the color of your text as well. We'll go ahead and put that back to the default or the automatic. Okay, so that is your font group. The next thing that I wanted to talk about is going to be the clipboard. So when the clipboard is someplace that you can copy information to, and it resides in something called your random access memory. So if you've heard of RAM, the acronym RAM, that's part of what RAM does. Is it originally you could only put one thing on the clipboard. However, now you have the ability to put up to 25 items on your clipboard. And regardless of whether you're in Microsoft Word or PowerPoint, the internet, as I was saying, you can put up to 25 options on the clipboard. And to see the clipboard, if you click on the little arrow in the bottom right corner of that group, it will show you what's on the clipboard. So currently I have something on my clipboard called company's social footprint. So let's take a look at that clipboard in a little bit more detail. First of all, we're going to talk about what's the difference between cut and copy. That's a question that I get quite frequently. And you can think of it literally if you have a scissors and a piece of paper, or you're going to use a Xerox machine. If I'm going to copy something, if I'm going to make multiple copies of it, I can go ahead and select the word jumped. I can come up here and click on copy. The keyboard shortcut is Control-C. So I'm going to go ahead and click on copy. Note that I now have that on my clipboard. And then I'm going to go ahead and just force a line break. And I'm just going to click on paste. And if I can continue to click on paste as many times as I want to, and it will just keep putting the word jumped in there for me. Okay, so I'm making multiple copies of the word jumped. So now I'll go up here and I will select the word, put in cow. I'll go ahead and select the word cow. If I click on cut, what's going to happen is it's going to remove it from the word or the sentence, the cow jumped over the moon, but it's on my clipboard. So you can see it over here on my clipboard, and it's waiting for me to paste it in another location. So now when I click on paste, it just gives me the word cow. Now, if I want to, since I have my clipboard options open, If I want to paste the word jumped, I can click on that. I can click on company social footprint. I can click on cow. Whatever I have in my clipboard, I can paste into any document, regardless of what that is. So that's a little bit about cut, copy, and paste. So again, copy is Control C, cut, I'll show you, is Control X, and paste is Control V. And those are three very common keyboard shortcuts that people use. So I'm going to go ahead, I've got jumped selected. I'm just going to change that format to maybe a light blue, and we'll make it bold and a little bit bigger. So I have changed the format, or I've done some editing to the word jumped. And I want to apply that to some of my other jumps down here. So if I want to, I can come up here and say, okay, it's Times New Roman 48 and blue. And then I can click in here and say, okay, Times New Roman 48 and get back in there in blue. But that's three different steps that I had to take in order for me to duplicate the format from this word jump to this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use something called the format painter. So I have my cursor inside of the word jumped. I'm going to go ahead and click on the format painter once, and note that my mouse face has now changed. I have my I-beam, but I also have a little paintbrush next to it. And that's indicating that Microsoft Word has picked up the format of the word jumped, meaning it's picked up that it's Times New Roman 48 size font and the light blue font color. So if I come down here and click inside of the word cow, it will apply that format to the word cow. Now I just clicked on Format Painter once. If I double click on the Format Painter, it will allow me to make as many format changes as I want to. And when you're done using the Format Painter, you can do one of two different things. You could come up here and click and turn off the Format Painter, or you can hit the Escape key on your keyboard and it will turn it off for you. Okay, so that's the font group, the clipboard group. The other thing that I wanted to mention, actually a couple of different things, is I mentioned that you can put up to 25 items on your clipboard. So you might be saying to yourself, well, what happens if I have 25 items on my clipboard and I add a 26th item? What it's going to do is it's going to delete item number 1, and it will replace it with your 26th item. Now those items are going to be on your clipboard until you either clear all, or if you restart or log off of your machine, it will clear that memory. Now sometimes if you have a very large item on your clipboard, when you are exiting out of the application, your machine might say to you, hey, you've got this really large item on your clipboard. Do you still need it? Because it's slowing down the processes of your PC. Most of the time, 99% of the time, I don't need that item on my clipboard. So I tell the computer to go ahead and delete it for me. So just in case you get that message, note that that's what is going on. Okay. So let's go ahead and I'll just go ahead and delete all of this information. So I highlighted that. If you, the keyboard shortcut for selecting everything in your document is Control A. Control A is an apple, and that will select everything in your document, whether it's 1 page or 100 pages. And you can simply hit the delete key on your keyboard, and it will erase everything on in your file. Okay, so looking at the paragraph group. In the paragraph group, I'm going to go ahead and make just a short list. So maybe I'll type in horse, dog, cow, mouse, and ant. Okay, so I have my list here, and perhaps what I want to do with this list is I want to put some bullets on it. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to do a Control-A to select all 5 of those items. And I can go ahead and I can assign a bullet to my list. So if you want a list to have bullets on it, that's you go underneath the paragraph group and assign the bullet that you would like. Now Microsoft Word has built-in bullets, but note that you can define your own bullet. So if I select the arrow, I like that, but I want to make some changes to it. I want to change the color of that. So I can come down here to define bullet. Let's see, where's the color? Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. That's in PowerPoint that you can do that. That is in PowerPoint. But what you can do is note that I have UNMC up here. If I go down to define bullet, I can select a symbol or a picture, and I can add something to my bullet list. So if I want an arrow or something different in there, maybe the number 3, I can go ahead and click on OK. It will add that to my bullet list, and there's my bullets are changed. Okay, here in a little bit, we'll come back to this. I'm going to go ahead and define a bullet with the do space logo, but we'll come back to that here in just a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight my list again. So you can put bullets on there. You can put numbering on there. So this is really cool. If I decide to number my items, and let's say that underneath horse, I want to put in I want to add something else to my list. So maybe I want to put cat in there. But you notice what happened was when I hit the enter key, it automatically renumbered everything for me. So if I delete that, it automatically renumbers them again. If I hit the enter key, it adds to them to my list. So I can put cat in there. So Microsoft Word does the work for you. So if I place my cursor after the word dog and hit the enter key, and let's say that under dog, I want to list some names of dogs. So I can hit my tab key and it will give it a different bullet. And maybe I want to put in there Bailey and Blue and Bear, but it will continue to put in those sub bullets if you want it to. If you want to change the sub bullet, you can do that very easily by coming up here and selecting a different option, and it will put that in for you. So those are your bullets. You also have an outline view that you can use. Now note that when I started my list for the names of the dogs, I used the tab key. If I want to, I can use the decrease indent or the increase indent. And it restarted my numbering. But if I wanted to add those in, I can simply just click on my numbering and it will add them to my list. So you can increase your indent, you can decrease your indent. Next to that, you can alphabetize everything if you want to. So I want my text ascending. From A to Z, I can go ahead and click on OK, and it automatically alphabetized everything for me. Next to that, you have a hide show. It's a symbols. So if you want to see where your paragraphs are, where your spaces are, this will show you. Now, these are non print items. So in other words, if you have this turned on and you send something to the printer, it's not going to print these options. So if you're building a resume or looking at a cover letter and you want to make sure everything is spaced out nicely, you can turn this on. If I'm just hitting the space bar, those little dots indicate that you have a space in here. The paragraph indicator is there. So if I continue to hit the enter key, it's just telling me that I selected a line break there. And if you don't want to see those symbols, you can just turn it back off. All right, next to that, the bottom row, we have align left, which Microsoft Word defaults to, align center, and align right, and justify. So if I go ahead and highlight my list, and I can ask Microsoft Word to center that, I can ask Microsoft Word to right align it, or if I justify it, now I don't have a lot of text here, so it doesn't look like Microsoft Word has done anything. But if you think about reading a paper or a newspaper, or a magazine, and there's your margins are justified, you might see larger gaps in between the words, and that's because you're justified on both sides, the left and right hand side. Next to that, you have your spacing. So if I want to change my spacing, maybe triple space, I can select that, double space, single space, whatever you prefer. You also have the ability to highlight a group of items. If you would like to put a color on them, and you can box items if you want to. So if I put borders on here, I can put a border around this group of listings. Okay, let me go ahead. I'm going to take that border off simply by going back and saying no border. Let me go ahead and just highlight all of this and delete it. And we're going to skip over to the insert ribbon, because the insert ribbon is really where you can have a lot of fun with Microsoft Word. It allows you to be very creative. As you can see, there's several different options. There's a lot of different groups in here. We're going to look at the illustrations group. We're going to spend some time looking at the text group and the links group. So that you have a better understanding of what you can use the insert ribbon for. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here to the text group, and I'm going to go to Word Art. Remember, I was talking about Word Art earlier when we were on the home ribbon and looking at text effects and typography. If I click on Word Art, I can select from any one of these options. Don't worry, you can always go in and change it. You can edit it if you decide that you don't like it later. I'm going to go ahead and just select maybe the blue accent 5, and it gives me this text box. So we're just going to, maybe we're going to have a garage sale. So I'm going to go ahead and type in garage sale. And you'll note that I now have another ribbon. I now have a ribbon called Shape Format. And that is in direct correlation with the word art. So this allows me to manipulate my word art. If I deselect the word garage sale, so by deselecting, I'm just going to click anywhere on my document outside of garage sale. The Shape Format ribbon now disappears. If I click back inside of garage sale, it comes back. So you've got all kinds of different options here. I can change my shape fill, my background. I can put an outline on it if I want to. I can put a different weight on it. I can come over here and change the text effects. There's a lot of different options in here. Again, it's just going to take some time to go in and play around with all these different options. They're a lot of fun. It can be a little bit time consuming because There are so many different things to look at. So that is underneath the insert ribbon, that is your word art. If I want to center the words garage sale, I can go ahead and just hover my mouse, and when I see that green line, that's an indicator to me that it is centered on my page. So I'm going to go ahead and let up on my mouse, and there we have, just a nice little cool title for the flyer that we're creating, entitled Garage Sale. Now, some other things that I wanted to point out to you, obviously in our garage sale, we want to put some pictures of what we have for sale. So if you take those pictures with your phone and place them on your PC, you can click on pictures and you can insert pictures from your PC. So if I click on pictures, it's simply going to take me into my camera roll. So maybe we've got just a little phone for sale. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the old-fashioned children's toy for that phone. I'll go ahead and click on insert, and it will bring in a picture from my PC that I had saved to my PC. Now we have another ribbon called picture format. And the first thing that I want to do with picture format is I want to come over here to the arrange group, and I'm going to go to wrap text, and I'm going to tell that picture to be typed. And the reason that I'm going to do that is because right now I don't have any control over this picture. And I want to be able to drag and drop it wherever I would like it on my screen. So I'm going to come up here to wrap text. I'm just going to tell it to be typed. And now I can go ahead and I can drag and drop that picture anywhere that I would like. If I want to increase or decrease the size of a picture, note that when I have the picture selected, it has little handlebars in the upper right, the upper left, and on the bottom as well. So if I hover my mouse over, I get an arrow pointing, kind of diagonally. And if I click and hold down on my mouse and drag in or out, it will increase or decrease the size of my picture proportionately. If you click on the one from the side or the top, it will not be proportionate. So if you want to increase or decrease the size of your picture, I would strongly encourage you to go to one of the corners and click and drag. Now, if the mouse isn't your friend, there's another way for you to change the size. Note that with picture format selected, that ribbon selected, over on the right-hand side, I have something called size. And right now my height is 2.98, my width is 4.22. If I click inside of height and maybe put just the number 2 in there, when I hit the enter key, you're going to see the width change as well. So again, it changes it proportionately. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the enter key, and it decreases the size of my picture. Now you might be wondering what the little semicircle or 3/4 circle is up at the top. This will allow me, if I click and hold down on my mouse over that, it will allow me to tilt my picture. So I can tilt that picture, and maybe we'll just leave it there. All right, so underneath the pictures format, this again has a lot of different options for you to choose from. The picture styles is one thing that I want to make sure that we cover this afternoon. Underneath picture styles, I can put a frame around my phone. So if I select the black frame, it'll put a frame around it. And I can select any of these, just kind of click through, see what my different options are. But it's really cool because it does it automatically for me. So maybe I want that frame, but I don't like that off-white border. So now I can go over here to picture border. Maybe I can change that to red or a green to complement some colors in the phone. You know, whatever you want to select is your choice. Okay, and then you have something called picture effect. So again, if you want to create a shadow, a reflection, a glow, you can select from any of those. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and deselect this picture, and the picture format ribbon is going to disappear again. So I'm going to go ahead and deselect that. I'm going to go back to the insert room because I want to look at some different options underneath illustrations. So I used pictures, and that's just for pictures that you have stored on your PC. Now, the other option that you have, as long as you are hooked up to the internet, you can go into online pictures, and Microsoft has joined forces with the search engine Bing. So when I click on that, it automatically allows me to access the internet. So maybe I will just type in, let's see, what we're selling things. What else do you sell in garage sale? Maybe baby clothes. So I'm going to type in baby clothes. I'm going to go ahead and hit the enter key. Microsoft Word or Bing goes out to the internet, finds all these pictures of baby clothes for me. See, it's still locating different options from the internet. So if whichever picture you want to bring in, I can click on that picture to select it. I'm going to go ahead and deselect this one. So it just puts a little check mark or a little blue box up there, and I can bring in one picture. Note that right now it says insert one picture, the one is in parentheses. Or if I want to bring in multiple pictures at one time, I can click on as many pictures as I would like, and we can insert as many pictures at one time. So I'm going to go ahead and click on insert 5. And it's going to download those for me. This might take a couple of seconds. So we're on 4, almost 5. And there we go. Okay, so the looks like the pictures came in and they're rather large. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just work with one at a time. I'm going to go ahead and select the one picture, and I'm going to make all of my pictures approximately the same size. So remember when we were playing around with the phone, I'm going to go ahead and click on the phone again, and I changed the height of the phone to 2, and it automatically changed the width to 2.83 so that it would be proportionate. So I'm going to go down here to this little outfit and click on it. Come back up to picture format. I'm going to go ahead and change this to a 2 as well. And it didn't do that proportionately. Interesting. Okay, let's go ahead and undo that. Remember, Control-Z is your keyboard shortcut. I'm going to go ahead and just use the manual function to reduce the size of it. The one thing that you might want to note is that when you bring items in through Bing, it also brings this photo is by an unknown author, is licensed by. If you want to delete that, there's 2 different frames here. So you've got one for your picture and one for this text box. So I can just go ahead and delete that. And I'm going to go back to picture format to wrap text. I'm going to tell this picture to be tight so that I can move it. So I can move it up to my first page. And sometimes you have to be a little bit forceful. You have to tell Microsoft Word who's boss. Because if you noted, it wanted to stay down there on the second page, but I wouldn't let it. So I forced it by dragging and dropping it up on top of my screen. Okay, so I wanted to show you one other way to transfer images from Word or from the internet to Word. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to split my screen here. So I'm just going to put Google on one half of my screen, and I'm going to put Microsoft Word on the other half of my screen. And we'll go in here and we'll look for other things. Maybe we've got some bikes. So I'm going to go click on, I'm going to type in bikes, then I'm going to go to images, and it will give me some images of different bicycles. So if I want to use some images of bicycles for my garage sale flyer, so let's say that this nice little pink bike here, that looks like a fun one. What you're seeing right now, these are called thumbnails. These are called thumbnails. So if you move an image from the internet to Microsoft Word or PowerPoint or any other application, you don't want to copy the thumbnail. What you want to do is go ahead and click on the picture that you would like to transfer. That will bring it to a full-size image, and that will allow us to transfer this over to Microsoft Word. And there's a couple of different ways that you can do this. I can right-click. So far all afternoon I've been left-clicking. This time I did a right-click, which brings up a shortcut menu. I can highlight copy image and left-click. And now it's on my clipboard. Remember, we talked about that clipboard earlier. I can come over and select Microsoft Word and just do a Control-V to paste, or I can click on my clipboard, but I'm going to use my keyboard shortcut, and it brings my bike in for me. I'm going to go ahead and make this window just a little bit bigger so it's easier for you to see. I'll decrease the size of this a little bit. Again, I'm going to go back to my picture format. Oh, okay, thank you. I don't have that open. Let me pull that up real quick. So Katie, if you're using it for just a one-time use, not to make any money on, you can use these pictures. If it's for an educational project, you can use the pictures, but you want to source them. Okay, good question, and that's a very popular question as well. So thank you for bringing that up. So I have my bike. And I can go ahead and move that around. I can manipulate it. And I want to go ahead and I'm going to bring one more picture over from the internet. So I'm going to restore this window down again and just scoot that over. And we'll bring in another bicycle. Put that over there. So let's say we've got two different bikes for sale in our garage sale. We'll go ahead and select this bike, this nice little red bike. If you don't want to right click and copy, you can do what we call a drag and drop. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click and hold down on this bike, and I'm going to drag and drop it over. Okay, that gave me the link. I need to change some stuff in my setup. If it gives you a link, it's how your Microsoft Word is set up. So we've got about 7 minutes left. I don't want to go into that. I'm going to go ahead and just right click and left click and copy and just paste that in. Okay, so now I'm going to go to picture format. I am going to go to wrap text, tell it to be tight. And we'll go back up to the beginning page. Okay, so now I've got 4 different items that I have for sale in my garage sale, and we're going to play around with these a little bit. For instance, when I bring the bike up, you know, it's covering up my cute little outfit. So I want to reorder these. So from my picture format, underneath arrange, I have the ability to bring items to the front or send them to the back, so I can rearrange these items. So perhaps I want to bring this little outfit to the front. So I'm going to go ahead and click on it to select it. And I'm going to ask Microsoft Word to bring to the front. Okay, and then I can just kind of move this around a little bit. You know, so you can send things to the front, you can move them to the back if you would like. Just kind of depends on how you want to rearrange your pictures. So with the bike, I've got an awful lot of space in here, an awful lot of white space that I don't particularly need. And underneath the picture format and the crop, I'm going to go ahead and select my cropping tools. When I turn on my cropping tools, it might remind you of the scrapbooking from years gone by. I might be aging myself too. But when I hover my mouse over one of these corners, my mouse mimics what that corner looks like, and I can just eliminate part of the picture. So, you know, I can eliminate, you know, half of the bike if I want to, but I don't want to do that. I just want to get rid of some of this white space. And what it's doing is it's not actually deleting that white space, it's just hiding it from you. So I'm done with my cropping tool. I'm just going to hit the escape key, and it took some of that white space off. So if I drag and drop it up here, maybe I want to bring this one to the front. And then we've got a nice little collage here going on with the items that I have for sale in my garage sale. Okay, let me go back over to insert again. Some other options that you have underneath the insert ribbon are maybe to insert a link. So if you're creating this and maybe you're mailing it out to someone, let's say that you have a website. So I'm going to go ahead and just place my cursor, and I'm going to type in www.dospace.org. And when I hit the space bar, note that it automatically turns this into a link as if we were on the internet. So if you're creating this flyer to send out, whether it's for personal reasons or for work related, if there's a website that you would like the end user or whoever's you're sending this to access, it's in your best interest to give them that link. That way, right from the Microsoft Word document, they can hover their mouse over the website and note that it's telling me to hold down the control key. And when I do that, it's giving me a little hand. And when I click on Do Space, it's automatically going to open up this website, the Do Space website. So it automatically creates a link for me, okay? And that's just simply by typing in any website that you would like to use. You can also take one of the pictures. So I'm going to go ahead and select the phone. And if I come up here to link, you can link the item in any items within any documents if you want to, but you can also link them to the internet. So I can go to the very last option, click on Insert Link. Note that it's going to add a hyperlink. The keyboard shortcut is Control-K, and it's going to add it to this picture that I have selected. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Insert Link, and we'll just type in www.dospace.org. Huskers.com. Okay, and I must have used that because it automatically populated it. So I'm going to go ahead and click on OK. You're not going to notice that anything happened. However, when I hover my mouse over the phone, you see that it brings up this little dialog box, or the little box that says, hey, this picture goes to www.huskers.com. If you hold down the control key and click, it will open up that link automatically for you. And there is the website for Husker Sports. So I'll go ahead and minimize that. We'll go back to our screen. And let me see what else is in here. So design is really nice. I realize it's right at 2 o'clock, but I did get kicked out a couple of times. So I do have a couple of more things I want to show you. If you want an automatic page color, you can add that by going to the design ribbon and selecting a different color. If you want a page border, this is really nice. You can select a page border. You can select a specific color if you want to. And I'll make it pretty thick. Click on OK, and puts that page border around there. Underneath page borders, it also has built-in art. So let's say that I want to put some evergreen trees on my border. I can go ahead and click on OK, and it adds those evergreen trees in. All right. I'm going to go ahead and just hold off here for a second. I want to give you a chance to ask any questions if you would like to. As I promised, here is my email. Come here. I'll put my email address up here for you. Go ahead and delete that. And I'll see if there are any questions that you specifically have. If not, feel free to email me if something comes up that you can't figure out or that we didn't cover today. I don't see no questions. Quiet group. Try and turn my video back on, see what happens. All right, folks, thank you for joining me this afternoon. Next week, we have a webinar on the next 3 weeks. I have webinars on Excel, PowerPoint, and Access and Teams. So make sure that you're checking out the DoSpace calendar for all the awesome webinars that are offered. Thank you for joining me today. Have a great afternoon and a safe weekend. Thanks, everybody.